This is Mr. Mahabub Hossain, Director General of the Bangladesh Rural Advancement Committee, and BRAC is one of the world's largest NGOs for development. What are the main achievements, successes in the field of combating extreme poverty of your organization? Can you tell us something about that?
Our strength is that we organize people in the grassroots level, what we call community empowerment, and address different kind of areas where either the government or the corporate sector are not providing any services. So it's basically those who are excluded from these two organs we try to take up. And in the area of extreme poverty, we have a project called Challenging the New Frontiers of Poverty, targeting the ultra poor. So under that project, we first try to identify who are the ultra poor. We focus on the bottom 10% of the households in the income scale, and then try to look at some of the exclusion criteria under which they are excluded, like they don't have any able-bodied working members, the school-going children don't go to school, and all that. And then what we do, we have a 2-year hand-holding program. We give them some assets, like a cattle or a number of goats, or lease a piece of land for horticulture, and then we give them intensive training on how to use those assets. With agricultural graduates, we train them, bring new technologies, train them how to do finer crop management practices and all that, and sometimes also link them to markets when their products are there. And we also give them a stipend. Before these assets produce an income, we provide them a consumption stipend so that they don't have to sell those assets, that we give it to them. And in that way, our assumption is that within 2 years, then they will move from extreme poverty to moderate poverty, and then they can fend themselves into the market, either participating in the labor market or in the land market, or then they can participate in microfinance activities and all that. So far, we started in 2002. In the first phase, we graduated about 100,000 these extreme poor households into moderate poverty, and in the second phase, we have so far covered 300,000 extreme poor households into poverty.
And the 2 years program has functioned well?
It functioned well, as we started in 2002. So some of those who are first batch graduates, we also follow up and see that whether they sustain those gains and improve over time. And our experience through this post-evaluation, that 90% of them could sustain the gains and further improve their economic conditions over time.
This is a real success story. The special thing about this conference is the cooperation between development organizations, NGOs, scientists, and business. Do you see any possibility to increase cooperation with corporate business?
Yeah, actually we have. That's another of our characteristics. We undertake what is called social enterprises. These are the kind of areas where the corporate sector is not addressing the needs of the poor people. Because they might need some services, but the private sector do not go to provide that services because they think that the market is too small, or it is too risky, or the poor will not be able to pay the price that they will have to charge in order to go there. So we then take up those enterprises, we invest ourselves to undertake those activities, and then our bottom line that we must recover the cost of production. We don't want to maximize profits, but we must recover the cost of production. And if we could generate a little bit of surplus, 2% or 4%, that will help us further accumulate and expand those enterprises. So there are many of those kind of social enterprises. These are addressing the so-called market failures, that the market is not going there. So we go there and show to the private sector that there are important businesses that they can do.
How have you financed the project so far?
Some of them are initially funded by some donors, but not fully. So some start-up costs are funded by the donors, but we also borrow from the commercial sector, from the banks and others, to invest those areas.